First of all, I think your analysis was very straight line. History doesn't run in a straight line.
Kid, you cannot tell your neighbor he is stealing ducks when you are stealing funds.
As High Commissioner, I was wrong. As Charandas Prasad, I reacted naturally how any person would have.
I did not come here for that kind of abuse. I did not come here for that kind of abuse. If you're going to go along that road, I'll walk off.
But it's all okay once they're talking. If they were talking, I could not have been here today.
You got ADHD.
I got nothing.
Calm down.
I think I've done enough in terms of taking our team out of trouble from losing.
Come on, Lou Taylor. That's good.
I'm reading the script now, and the first person that comes to my mind to play a detective,
Yes,
but
the
an
Guyanese critic.
erratic
Mikhail
detective,
Rodriguez.
Mikhail Rodriguez.
Why an African slap an Indian? Why a man and slap a woman? No, good, how you deal with that? You deal with that.
We must encourage platforms like this because it brings together different people and allows for discussions to take place in our country on a multiplicity of fundamental issues.
Kingdom, you apologizing for something you think I did is wrong. I don't want you to do that, and you should not have done that. Hi there, a pleasant Wednesday evening to you. This is our fourth edition for 2025, and in case you missed the previous ones, we'd like to wish you, the company, and my co-host Leonard Craig, a very, very happy 2025. We don't have a formal interview this evening. What we have done, like last Monday program, is to invite one of our colleagues, one of our friends, a prominent Guyanese, to rap with us, to have an interaction about 2024 and 2025. We did Monday the same thing, and we asked Michael Carrington to join us and reflect on 2024 and perhaps what they want for 2025. And as you can see from our advertisement for this program, I refer to ALPHONSO the ARMAS as a rising PPP star. So we have asked ALPHONSO, one of, or perhaps the leading aggressor, for want of a better word, quote unquote, representing the PPP at the Georgetown City Council, to join Leonard and I, and let's rap among ourselves. Let's talk about 2024 and 2025. So also on behalf of our colleague ALPHONSO the ARMAS, on his behalf, we'd like to welcome you to 2025 and hope the best for you in 2025. Thanks for being with us. Because Leonard shares this platform with me, and because I'm a troglodyte or a dinosaur, I'll hand over to the young rising star of the PPP and the most vocal PPP councillor in the Georgetown City Council, Honorable ALPHONSO the ARMAS, whose middle name is Fidel.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I think Freddie engages in a little bit too much of hyperbole. I don't know about rising star or aggressor on the city council. I'm just a resident of Georgetown that wants the best for our citizens. That's all. And I don't feel like our interests are best represented by the majority of the councillors at the council.
So 2024, it made you richer. It made Guyana richer. Were you disappointed, or you see good things? 24 set good things, so 25 and onward.
Well, definitely, I saw a lot of good things. Particularly the way that our government has managed the economy. It's not easy to manage an economy, an oil economy to use an economic parlance that sometimes tends to run hot. you have to contend with a lot of issues like inflation and so on. And I think they've done a really good job in balancing that out and balancing out the spending on social issues as well as capital investments. We're here looking back, and as I mentioned that, it just hit me. I was looking at previous budgets, the way that the APNU would have managed the money that came through their coffers, and comparing at the ratios of how they spent the money. About 76 to 78% on average went to recurring expenditure. That's the meals, the refreshments, the salaries, and so on. And the balance, like 20-something%, went to capital investments, right? When you look at it now, it's not completely inverted, but it's a lot more balanced, which means that we've been spending, the government has been spending a lot more, investing a lot more in our country's future, and not just blowing everything. So those are things that bode well for me.
But I thought you would start with your own fault. You're a member of the Georgetown City Council, and last year, garbage was ubiquitous, Alphonso. What are you guys doing over there?
Well, it is I would say it's a textbook case in mismanagement, in mismanagement and a clear lack of priorities. We have situations where the city doesn't pick up or can't manage the services that it provides to citizens effectively for a variety of reasons on one hand, and on the other hand they're passing all sorts of policies to exempt their political parties, their political masters, from paying their fair share of rates and taxes, when it's no secret that Georgetown is cash strapped. So those are two things that you have to look at. They're misplaced priorities and gross mismanagement. Any viewers, I can challenge you to go now to the Stone Depot or the solid waste management compound, and what you'll see is appalling. I'd made some videos earlier last year where I showed the amount of equipment, skip bins, dumpsters that were rotting there, that could have been put to good use around the city of Georgetown, but because of mismanagement, lack of priorities, they sit there rotting while their city decays.
Alphonso, I don't know how steep you are in Georgetown lingo, but we all know what is a jumbie lash. And AFC put a jumpy lash on Leonard Craig in the papers and an online media today. We're going to go back. We're going to look back further, Alphonso. But what about this jumpy lash? Do you normally survive a jumpy lash? When I was growing up, I heard you don't.
Well, then it's probably not a jumpy lash. So you're making fun of me or the AFC?
The AFC.
just clarifying. Look, Freddie, I've read the press release that AFC put out on me, right? We're supposed to be talking about the country and the other thing, but I don't mind confronting some of these things frontally. So I read the press release AFC put out on me. And I guess, it's clear in the press release that they were responding to my article the day before, my article of Monday.
In the Guyana Chronicle.
In the Guyana Chronicle. And so responding to that, they have proven everything that I've said. Like literally what my article said about them, they came out with a press release that proved everything. And I made 3 fundamental statements, Freddie. 3 fundamental statements. Statement number 1 is that the AFC leaders, they operate like each one of them is a star on their own. And they have this belief that they are better than everybody else. And how dare you? Why you think Kathy Hughes was so upset when the vice president referred to her as low life?
How dare him?
How dare him call me low life?
How dare Trevor Williams could ask her for the cell number of a minister?
And that kind of thing. So this is what these people believe about themselves. And Vince Adams is no different. And so in responding, so that is one claim I made. When you look at their release and how it is, the language with which they use, and then they start rattling off. Vince Adams went here, he went there, he been there, then there. Everywhere he went and every school he went and every degree he got. All right? And then they added Craig ain't got nothing. And until Craig gets something, Craig must never ever respond to, criticize, or talk about Dr. Adams. These people are gods. You understand? And the voting public should understand that this is the AFC. This is the AFC. This is the way they performed in government. And that's the way they believe. And that is why, Freddie, the other thing I spoke about was that the AFC is unimaginative when it comes to politics. They show no imagination, nothing new, no matter how they reinvent themselves, and they think they have a new momentum. There is no form of creativity, nothing new. They're just reactive. And again, that press release proves me right, that they're just reactive. I write something and they just react to it, and they react to it for reaction's sake, or because they feel upset because I challenge some information. The third aspect of my article was that I am saying that on the issue of the oil and gas, that Dr. Vince Adams made a mistake. It could have been a genuine mistake. It is up to him to say whether his mistake is genuine or not. But instead of...
The monitor is gone. Excuse me, sorry.
But instead of responding to the mistake I outlined, right? It's a simple primary school mistake he made. And sometimes all of us do that. But instead of responding to the mistake you make, you start rattling off about somebody else, how minuscule they are, how they have not risen to your level, your godlike level. These ordinary people, who are they? Who is he to talk? All right? And, so they maximize themselves and minimize everybody else. So they wrote in their press release that Craig is unqualified and he ain't got nothing, he got zilch and all of that. I am not here to boast about any qualification I have or any school.
Yeah, don't go down that road.
It's low.
Yeah.
It's low life. I'm not going down there. But I have one thing to say on that the information contained in black and white in writing coming from the AFC is patently false. I'm going to say that much. And it is not only false, it is libelous and scandalous. And based on the decision that myself and family will make, AFC might very well be dragged before the court to verify the information that they have there. Might very well have to be dragged before the court to verify the information.
Before Alfonso come in, I will advise, look, when you're in politics, you got to take some jumbie lashes. But so don't go down the court thing. But that's what you think.
No, it's not my style. But all I'm saying, it is so libelous and so blatantly libelous that that's a walk in the park.
It's a political arena
thing.
Alfonso, tell us about 2024, man. Let's interact with 2024. Clean that we dealt with the garbage. That garbage.
2024. Well, I briefly touched. I briefly touched on some parts of the city council. 2024 was not a good year for the city of Georgetown, for the way it was managed, for the way that the basic services or the lack of services that were provided to the residents of Georgetown. We began the budget actually for 2024 for the city was meant to have been presented, at least the estimates, since 2023, November 15th. We didn't get a budget until June 4th last year. And that meant that basically the council was directing blindly. How can you make decisions that impact the financial health of the city without a budget halfway through the year? And then when we finally got a budget, it was clear that it was a monopoly budget. There wasn't anything based in any sort of reality. It was just fantastical figures. I think they had projected something like $3.2 billion or $3.6 billion in revenue, when never in the history of Georgetown, at least in the recent history, as far as I can remember, the city had ever generated that much. And then during the budget presentation, the finance chair, he engaged in a lot of kumbaya and hand-holding and wishing and these high things that they were going to do to generate more revenues for the city, and nothing materialized. Now the city's faced with a $1.2 billion shortage from what they had. $1.2 billion? Yes, $1.2 billion. And of course, on Monday we had a special statutory to deal with another issue, that is to deal with the salary increases for the staff of the city, and they just engaged in a round of excuses. But you know what this speaks to? Looking forward to the way that the PNC-led, I don't like to say APNO because essentially it's the PNC. It's the PNC-led council operates. It's just a microcosm. It's a small window into how they governed in the past, the country, and how they will govern, or not will, how they would govern if they ever, God forbid, return to executive power at the level of central government. It's really horrific. It's really horrific. There's no data. There's decisions are made ad hoc. We'll do this. We'll do that. We'll do that. There's no strategic plan. There's nothing, and it's just a lot of blaming and so on. So,
outside of the city council, what else you want to reflect on in 2024 before we go to 2025?
Look, the critics of the government, the self-appointed messiahs in the AFC, for example, as my colleague Stephen Jacobs refers to them as the self-appointed messiahs. Yeah.
Self-appointed leviathans.
That's an apt title. These people really believe they're gods and they are the best thing. You know.
Yeah, they criticize the way that the PPP government has managed the economy, has spent or invested the proceeds of oil and so on. And they argue that the reason that they didn't do better when they were in government is because they didn't have oil money. But like I just said, the money that they did have, they blew it all on recurring expenditure. When that happens, I mean, you're tying all these future recurring expenses to essentially the price of a very volatile resource, right? Oil is a very volatile resource. So if you're tying all these social goodies, right, to get to get the electorate on your side, all these goodies, you're essentially tying that spending now to the future cost of oil. It's not entirely predictable. It's not sustainable. What they didn't do is they didn't do all the investments, all the capital investments to make sure that there is a sustainable revenue base for the country, right? Investments in infrastructure, things like farm to market roads. And you see a huge lack of investments in things like that. Something as simple as farm to market roads, when there's a supply shock, let's say let's say there's a drought or there's a flood somewhere, it becomes harder to to stabilize prices because something as simple as investments in farm-to-market roads weren't done. Instead, they blew the spending on goodies, which will never get that money back. Now, the investments that the government made last year, the previous years, in things like that, in farm-to-market roads, in infrastructure, in energy, right? Those things will pay dividends years, decades down the line, without depending on a future on the future price of oil in 2040, for example. So we're not tied down to that. That is the difference, and that's why I'm very optimistic about 2025. The investments in infrastructure, and now we see investments in social welfare. I don't like to use that word welfare, but in social issues. University is now free. The University of Guyana is now free. The Board of Industrial Training, all these courses that are technical, that are vocational. We underestimate how impactful those are in building wealth. If a family is now able to, if the breadwinner of a family who was once maybe a handyman, or he did odd jobs around the place, and he qualifies himself and he's able to work as an excavator driver, or one of those professions, that's now a really well-paid profession, really well paid. You're making $16,000-$20,000 a day, right? So those investments that now that the government has been doing, or has done in last year, the year before that, and going to increase that this year, those really augur well for the future of our country in terms of wealth generation, in terms of community stability, in terms of social cohesion, right? All of those things augur really well, and as a result of that, I'm very, very optimistic.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have on the platform this evening, good evening to the people of Lenora. We have on the platform this evening 2 young politicians that are the future of Guyana. I'm introducing to you ALPHONSO de ARMAS and Leonard Craig. 2025 election campaign. How that sound? I got a feeling I can see the 2 young.
Freddie,
I gotta go to that meeting.
You know me, and you know that I love campaigning. And if I am not excited about anything else for 2025, I'm excited about the campaign. If not anything else for 2025.
I don't normally flatter people, but we need a new generation of young people like you guys. I think we do. And I hope you guys are in for the long haul. But Leonard, what happened to let's continue from Monday. 2024. I could start with one of the things of 2024. I was with my wife since we came back in 84. I like the mingling with the ordinary people. So we've been going to Powita Market. And in November, within the radius of 3 miles, we had 5 traffic patrols within the radius of 3 miles. So a guy wrote a letter in the newspaper saying he experienced something like that up East Bank. So he's suggesting when you meet the first stop and you're clear with your documents, they could give you a little slip. So when a mile you're traveling and another squad stop you, you show them the little thing. But in a radius of 3 miles, 5 traffic patrol squads. I mean, that thing irked me in 2024, and I hope I heard the Commissioner of Police said something that I observed on Cherry Street. These anti-crime guys on their motorcycle with their vests, they normally do traffic duties. They're normally stopping people. The traffic chief, the police commissioner said yesterday, stop it. That was one of the things that irked me in 2024. But let's continue.
Since you mentioned traffic, let me just touch on that quickly. I am of the firm belief that Guyana has reached a stage now that it needs a different department to manage traffic issues. The arrangement we have now for traffic and motor vehicle and road transportation, we have outlived it. It's a arrangement for the 1970s when you only had 4 or 5 cars on the road, and you could have gone to the license and revenue office and just thing. But I think it's time that we have a Department of Road Transportation and Road Safety. And so you can dedicate enough time to studying traffic issues, traffic flows, and all of that. We don't have enough of that. And so you find that the police got too much to do, and we don't have enough service. So let me just give you what happens with traffic. You gotta go GRA for your license. You gotta go police for
certificate of
fitness. And you gotta go Ministry of Home Affairs for tint certificate. And it's about four different agencies. I remember when I used to be at the time it was called Public Security, when I used to be there. They had this idea to change the license plate to these machine readable or recognizable license plates, right? These printed ones that you print on a press, not just go to anybody on the roadside and make a license plate. And the ministry was putting together some systems and interviewing people who were capable of producing and just get some ideas and formulate studies and documents concerning it. And GRA wrote them and said, no, you can't do that. This is the complete remit of GRA. Don't intrude.
Is that what the law says?
That is what GRA said, and they quote several laws because we are the ones who hand out number plates, blah, 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 and the ministry can't contemplate it without, and stuff like that. And the ministry just shelved it, and that was the end of the matter. So I am saying, bring all these services under one thing, and all these issues we got with the trucks thing and all of that, I believe it will be solved under an umbrella like that. So if you ask me, looking forward to 2025 and looking forward to the government, opposition, whomever, I would like to see some of that reflected in all the manifestos, and let's have a healthy discussion on it. GRA recently rebuilt the license office on my street. And that thing is a major traffic nightmare. And I am saying the license office was placed
but
there.
But they don't even have the space to examine the cars.
The license office had that space there since the 70s. And again, I'm saying in the 70s, it's four or five cars.
It's just that the building different.
The building is bigger.
The same space to examine the cars.
Sell that building out to whomever.
And go somewhere in the industry.
The highest bidder. And then move to a
industry
place
ogre.
Yeah.
I can't understand that.
So I would look forward to some of those things like that being done for 2025. I think the traffic situation is so bad that it needs to be managed better. And I'm saying the police, you're wasting a lot of police resources to sit down and write license whole day. When you go in some of these traffic departments, people just sit down writing, you well dressed in your police uniform, and you just write in that thing like
certificate of fitness.
Certificate of fitness.
And that is yearly. Look at the cars we have in this country.
Yeah.
Fairly good cars from Japan. All of us, I'm sure, have cars that carry us good for good 10. Why are you doing the certificate of fitness yearly? Why not?
I think what they should do is a sliding scale. If you come with a brand new vehicle, 5 years, and if your vehicle is 5 years older,
3 years,
you think
an old car,
and an old car got to come every year because you understand, we want to verify that your car hasn't deteriorated.
I hope, Alphonso, what's your hope for what you want to see in 2025? I would like to see that that certificate of fitness every year. My car is 2020, man.
Yeah, I mean those all sound like common sense proposals. I'm not an expert in traffic matters. In fact, I'm woefully unqualified to make pronouncements on that. But yeah, just
But you're a
generally,
driver. Yeah.
yeah, generally, I think it could be better systems could be better, could be more efficient, right? And I'm sure I've heard President Ali and Vice President talk about how they're rolling out or planning out some of those things. It's just that they haven't made a lot of public pronouncements about them. But we saw, for example, those new radar
I see
those new radar signs up on the major carriageways are up already. So there's evidence that they're working, albeit behind the scenes, on some of these issues. And I would like to see some common sense.
But Alphonso, no matter what the government does, you have to deal with that police force out there. They don't pay respect to no government, to no embassy, no nothing. Those people go out there, they do their own thing, Alphonso.
Yes, correct. And there are also those officers who do their job professionally and very respectfully. In fact, I don't remember the last time that I was stopped or harassed by a police officer. I've been stopped if I've broken the law. Just the other day I got a ticket. And the
You got a ticket the other day?
Yes, I did.
You were speeding.
I was speeding. I was speeding and I was stopped. The officer, he didn't ask.
We got to show this program to this PNC city councillors. So when you raise up your voice, the people will show you're speeding.
Yeah, I was speeding. And the police officer was quite courteous, professional. He normally the way the conversation goes is there's the insinuation that you could avoid the ticket if you leave something.
Did so?
No. He got right to it. Very professional, very courteous, and I told him so. I accepted my ticket because I know I was wrong, and I went on my way, and he went on his.
Yeah, since we're talking about speeding,
Alphonso, please pay for that ticket, right? Please.
Of course.
A lot of the speeding limits around town and on the country roads and so on is a relic of the past and should be changed. For example,
you advocating higher speeding, right?
Not necessarily. Look,
Georgetown is 60. Georgetown is 50.
Exactly, and it should go down. Because how do you drive on Robb Street at 50 miles per hour? Right. The speed limit on Robb Street is 50 miles per hour.
It should be 30 here.
Right? And then you go on some of these wide highways, and the speed limit is also 50. Something got to be wrong with that. It needs review. I'm not saying what should raise or whatever, but I'm just saying that a lot of it in comparison just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and then you have the trucks.
Yeah. We need to have different
horrendous
speed limits for different categories of vehicles also.
Yeah. And in my constituency,
your constituency is Kissoon, right?
No, it's Bel Air Park, Lamaha Gardens, Campbellville.
Okay.
The trucks tend to go through the back of Lamaha Gardens, and they speed through those residential neighborhoods with callous disregard for the residents, for the people who are walking on the roads and so on. And there are signs. The Minister of Works, Minister Edgell has been out there. He's had the signs posted, no trucks. There's police there from time to time, and you still find these trucks just bulldozing through these neighborhood community roads. It's really
they've killed a couple of people. They killed a guy walking in Cherry Street. I think he's an electrician.
Yes.
Now walking his business.
Mr. Smart. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you knew him?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
The man going about his business, he ran off the road into the man.
Yeah.
That is so tragic.
Yes.
The former High Commissioner wrote a letter in the papers, and he was comparing the UK population of 60 million, his country fatalities, and per capita, we are higher than the UK.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if our drivers see it as a badge of honor to drive as quickly and as outrageously as possible. Like if you're 3 minutes away or 5 minutes away from your destination, I don't know if we see it as a badge of honor that we get there 2 minutes before the GPS says that we're meant to arrive. So we undertake and we do all sorts of nonsense on the road. I'm not sure where that comes from, because we see the attitudes of a lot of the motorists on the road, and there are really a lot of bullies. You know, they can't wait for a light to change. They're already undertaking you or easing through.
And soon as the light change, you hear beep, beep,
But,
beep.
but Alphonso and Leonard, there's a trait I see in Guyanese that just automatically vanishes, disappears when these people leave the show and they go to Europe, North America. And I see it at the seawall. I'm at the seawall every afternoon. Was there last night. I spend all my nights with my dog there. You have a vendor selling beer at the seawall. You have about a dozen of them, entertainment. And they park right there. And the seawall is so wide that you could park nicely and then walk to the At the school, you have to park outside of the school bridge to bring out your child.
Yeah.
And when these people go outside, they will walk for yards and yards, park yards and yards away.
Yeah.
Man, so something is wrong, psychologically wrong there.
I don't know if it's anything that's psychologically wrong, but it's definitely part of our culture. And I've read and I've looked at some documentaries about similar truant motorist culture, to use a euphemism, in other countries, and how they've dealt with it. So for example, in Colombia, in 1993, I don't know if the capital of Colombia is Bogota. Mm-hmm. It's one of the more heavily populated cities in South America. In South America, it's maybe about 10 million people, and traffic is atrocious. But there was also a culture of bullyism and truancy, like we see here, and they had elected a mayor he wasn't a politician. He was actually a professor of mathematics and philosophy at the university, and he thought that he could change that culture by doing something entirely different. You know what he did? And I'm not saying that this is what we should do in Guyana, but he hired literally an army of mimes. The people that dress in white face, and they do these things to make fun of the motorists whenever they break the law. And that had a big impact on whether now you're leaving your vehicle in the middle of a pedestrian crossing, for example. It really did go a long way to change the culture, which is an interesting way to look at solutions.
So these mimes are out in the street.
Yes.
Well, I tell you something, in Georgetown, one lowlife come out in car and one slap on that person.
But think of the impact that now that would have a snowball impact. I'm sure that one of those instances might be captured on social media, and the perpetrator, it has a snowball effect. And now I'm not saying that this is something that we should do here. It's just an example of out of the box thinking that maybe we could glean a page or two from.
All right. Something that really bothers me is because of my long activism. Okay? There is a lady named Melly Mel and a guy named Whitford Burke. How you could be suing people in Guyana from New York, and then on your Facebook page, you call people all kinds of things. You call ruling politicians. Whitford Burke said all kinds of things about me 2 weeks ago. And you can't serve a writ on Whitford Burke, because after 6 weeks, or I think 3 months, if the writ is not served, the libel writ, fails. So this guy...
There's a statute of limitation.
Yeah. If you don't, that's why people run from the writ when they see the marshal.
Okay.
After a certain time, it becomes null and void. So Burke is suing people in Guyana, because guess what Burke does? He tells his lawyer, sue Minister Teixeira, sue this person, and the writ is filed, and the marshal goes to Minister Teixeira's office, etc. But you can't file a writ against Burke. Now you have a lady like Melly Mel, and this I'm sure affected all of us in 2024. You could take a man with 7 children, upright citizen, and you want to get to him and say he's a homosexual, and you're allowed to do that? You could destroy a person's family like that? That in 2024, I think we had enough of that.
I'll let Leno answer because I must confess I don't really follow.
I don't read them. No, it's what people tell me. Right.
So when you mentioned this case with the guy with the 7 children, I don't even know who. I'm not.
No, this was just an example.
Oh,
but
okay,
okay. they have said dirty things about ministers that could damage their family.
Okay, well, I don't really follow it, so I don't have much to say.
I don't have smartphone. I don't follow. But what people tell me they've said about me, well, not Melly Mel. What Wilfred Buck wrote about me, some very nasty things last week.
Well,
I don't.
No, I didn't. I am on social media, but I didn't see that specific thing you talk about. I'll have to go look for it. My opinion generally is that the social media has built into it to some degree a whistleblower protection. In other words, you can make a fake account and then from behind the account, or an account that it doesn't have your name on it, and from behind the account, you can release information that is worthy for public to understand the workings of their country and the workings of their government. I think that is valuable in the social media space, and also social media assists with freedom of speech. However, I have a similar opinion to yours, that if you get into this space of criticizing people, whoever you are, I'm not going to call names. You call names, I'm not calling names. But it doesn't matter whether it's those 2 people or anybody else. But if you are in the business, your stock in trade is criticizing people and all of that, then you have to also be liable for criticism, and you also got to be liable for what you say, or responsible for what you say, and that responsibility should go all the way up to the courts. And if you're gonna make yourself inaccessible to answer to anything you say, if you're gonna make yourself inaccessible, that doesn't seem fair. But some people probably, that's the way some people are. So for me, personally, if I say something, it's because I could back it up with facts. I gonna have my facts, and then I can say what I gotta say. And you could go and sue me, and I will present my facts. Maybe I misinterpreted, and your libel writ wins, because what I read and what I thought to be facts may not be entirely so, but I will stand by it. If I am going to be brave enough to use that term to say these things, you got to stand by it, and you got to go to court and stand by it too. So that would be my feeling. That would be my feeling on the issue, right? The social media space has its advantages because
Yeah, it does.
they
And
are
it has
things.
its nefarious side.
They are things. We can't say that every single government is clean, every minister is clean, every PS, every public officer is clean, and they are risk with putting your name and face when giving information. There are risks associated with that. So I understand the need sometimes to do whistleblowing and hide, behind things similar to WikiLeaks and whatever. So it has some value. But
Yes, Alfonso.
you could abuse it as well.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I don't generally follow Melly Mel or Rick Friedberg, but in general, I'm a huge believer in freedom of speech. But freedom of speech doesn't
carries responsibility.
Yeah, it doesn't speak to consequences free speech, right? If like Leno said, if you said something and you have libeled somebody or slandered somebody, then there ought to be consequences for doing that. And I think when I've been attacked a lot on social media. People refer to me as an Uncle Tom, as a house slave, all sorts of, as a traitor, all sorts of things.
As
but
a traitor for.
No, I've betrayed my race, right? All those sorts of things. But that has an effect. When everything is racist, when everybody is a house slave, when everything is racist, then nothing is. We're
ARMAS
watering.
is not a typical Guyanese name, anyway. Sorry to cut you.
It's all right. Yeah. So you attack instead of attacking substance. Right?
Yeah.
I have a policy, I have an idea, I have a narrative. Instead of attacking that substance, you instead resort to ad hominem attacks. You're attacking people's characters, their personalities, their fingers are too long, whatever. Right? Those attacks over time, they lose their impact. Right? If I say something and you say, yeah, but don't worry with him, he's a racist, or don't worry with him, he's an Uncle Tom, or don't worry with him, he's stupidity, or whatever. Those arguments lose their bite. They lose their sharpness over time. And if all you have to say is, yeah, but the racist people there, the racist people there, the racist people there, president is a racist, everybody's a racist, then when a truly racist act happens, when you have Maureen Philadelphia, for example, in that whole Mace thing, when she stands over the I think the guy's name, the Ian McPherson, when she stands over him, calling him a house Negro, right? That is a truly appalling act of racism. When things like that happen, then they tend it tends to be watered down, right? So we need to be wary as a society that of labeling things on social media, yes, but just in general, overusing these words like racist, and because they're true acts of racism. But if we label everything that we don't like as racism, then that word starts to lose its power, and we can't afford for that concept to lose its power in a society like Guyana, that is where we have a history of division, where we need more cohesion and not division. So, we need to be wary of that.
2025, you got a list of things you want to see for Guyana? You made out a list?
A list per se, no, but there are things that I really look forward to that are,
let's hear them,
that are on their way. That the gas to shore project, having the cost of our energy by 50%, that is something that I'm really looking forward to. It's really going to power our economy in a way that people haven't really considered.
And cooking gas.
But look at all the mini all the micro agro-processors that there are around the place. A huge inefficiency in their operations is the cost of manufacturing. Cost of electricity is a huge thing there. Once we're able to bring that down, I mean, think of the impact that's going to have on the little mom and pop micro processors around the city, around the country. It's going to have a telling impact on wealth creation, which is huge. Some of the larger infrastructure projects the bridge, for example. You know, right now, the cost of a truckload of sand on the west side is a lot more than the cost over here, right? Because of the weight restrictions and the distances on the bridge and the tolls and all of that. And so, yes, so we see that there's a bridge coming, but a lot of us haven't really paused to think about how that's going to impact our way of life. So apart from being able to cross over quickly, it's going to have a big impact on things like the cost of construction. If now because of this bridge that we clearly see is going to be a huge boon to our economy, we're able to transport construction materials cheaper and quicker. It's going to bring down the cost of construction. But outside of that, if you analyze, for example, the real estate market in Georgetown, you'll see that there are bubbles where they're ridiculously priced, right? And that's because effectively you can't compete because of the long transportation times between West and Georgetown, right? It takes too long, and most people, they don't want to live so far away from work, from town, So now, as a result of a new bridge coming, but it's not just any bridge, right? It's a bridge that is going to dramatically reduce commuting times. Now, landlords or property owners on this side of the river are going to have to essentially compete with property owners on the west side. And we all know that when there's competition, the effect is to reduce prices, right? And so that's what I look forward to that happening. I see that happening. Because now, if you're able to reach from Lenora or Crane or Wales in the same time it takes you to reach the town from Grove or Diamond.
I would like 2025 to be the year of the small man.
Preach.
Make all your policies. And this is a concept. This is a concept from Chedi Jagan. Chedi said, if you make your policies for the poor, the rich will benefit. Let me give you a quick example. You see some of these people squatting on these dams in Georgetown. If you tell yourself, hey, I'm going to put $1 billion to removing 35 families from Yarrow Dam to wherever, and you say, look, to help them move, I'm going to give them subsidy for cement, sand, this, that, whatever. And then I'm going to give them a cash grant to start off life with $300,000-$400,000 cash grant. When they get that subsidy for cement, sand, and what have you, who you taking it to? No, poor people don't sell cement. Poor people don't sell steel and stone. So making a policy for the poor will benefit the rich. And Chedi is right. And I would wish if 2025 could be the year of the small man. If it could be that you have adequate resources in the market, adequate accommodation in the markets, adequate, like when you go to the passport office, the lines disappear, you go for birth certificate. I would that would be my dream. And I think I mentioned this to you on this program already. I made very good friends with a young lady while I was in Germany for a while, and we discussed. That's what you might want to say, but I didn't say that. But we discussed.
As I said it.
Settling in a developing country. Being in Guyana, what have you. And the young lady said to me, you know what? I born and grew up in Europe. And what's the reason why I will never leave Europe to go and live anywhere else? Because things work. And I'm able with the stress and the line and the poor customer service and all of that.
But that is one of the things I just hoping for every year. And I hope 2025 is these things are going to disappear.
I hope we could make a giant step on some of those things this year.
I do not think, Alphonso, and you know how important the ID card is? When your ID card is lost. The time to take to get back.
Yeah,
to get back
those
that
kinds
thing.
of things.
People should not, have to. People should not have to go through that. When I pass that passport line, it has to break your heart. And that is one of the things. Look, I am saying this what I want in 2025. I believe Orphan Alley means well.
Yeah.
I believe Orphan. I know Orphan Alley's uncle personally, my friend, and he comes from a tradition that is very Jaganite. This emphasis on the farmer, this emphasis on ordinary people, and I want to see that all money in 2025 leveling out, and you getting policemen, soldiers, nurses, public servants sharing in this all thing. I would say this unapologetically. The police force, the army, our public servants, they work. You've got the 1 and 2 bad eggs. And I'd like to see those people feel that their country is our wealthy country, and they're doing, increase daycare facilities.
And sometimes that feeling that you get isn't necessarily or don't necessarily have to show up in your salary. I'm not saying that people shouldn't get a salary increase, but I'm saying that's not the end of it. To me, look, myself and wife was talking only 2 days ago. My wife lived in China with me for the few years I was there. And we also spend a lot of time in the US. And when we compare, and economists these days have a way of comparing country by using something you call a happiness index. And when we compare how people live in China, how people move around in the streets, happy and light-hearted and contented. But when you're in the streets of New York City, for example, soon as you watch somebody, who are you looking at? People are ready to road rage. People, you feel burdened when you're on the streets in America.
Did you read what the Surgeon General, the outgoing Surgeon General of the US said?
Was that about alcohol?
Yeah. He's East Indian. His parents were born in India. He said that half of the young people in the US are lonely, depressed, and
there are other money. While I agree with Leno, and that not saying that salary increases, people shouldn't get salary increases. They should by all means.
Yes, sure.
But it's not the only way to measure happiness or to measure prosperity. So, for example, I think it's the Kingdom of Bhutan that doesn't measure their Gini coefficient or their GDP or anything. They have something called a happiness index, right? They take I don't know how it's calculated, but that happiness index for them is more important than other economic indicators. I think it's the Kingdom of Bhutan. It could be Brunei, but it's one of those two. Pretty sure it's Bhutan, where that happens. So that just the other day I took my daughter to the seawall.
I saw you and I with your daughter there. You didn't see me?
No, I didn't. Yeah, I took her there to the seawall, and I was just reflecting on how nice it was, how peaceful it was to be able to take your child or your family out once again to the seawall. Because when I was growing up, I mean, we went there all the time, but then there was a time when it was a period there.
Yeah, and they used to rob you on the seawall and so on and so on. And those are the things I would like to see in 2025. And again, I'm saying you use passport office as an example. The only people who line up at the passport office are ordinary people.
Yeah, of course.
Because if I want, and ordinary people take about 5 days to get a passport, something like that. If I want a passport change, there's somebody I might be able to call, because I know a lot of people in society. I know the Commissioner of Police, and the Commissioner of Police is the Chief Passport, Chief Immigration Officer. I might be able to put in a call and get my passport in a day or two. I don't have to join that line. The rich man, everybody got somebody.
Yeah, they don't see
Exactly. So it therefore means then
they don't go into
that
a
if we
commercial
could
bank.
reduce the size of the line at the passport office for the small man, the rich man will benefit to the extent where when that rich man calls the commissioner and say, man, I want my passport, the commissioner say, man, what are you calling me for? The thing's so easy, just go down there and collect your thing, it's going to take a couple hours. So things like that I would like to see a giant step be made in 2025.
We got to go. Our operator say our time has come. Alfonso, what are you doing with that 100,000? If you don't want it,
No, I definitely want it.
I'm waiting for. I want to buy a bicycle. I ride up my bicycle in the park and it's gone terrible. Craig, you want 100,000? You have to, right?
You know what I'm going to do with it? I'm going to pay off a credit card statement. I'm paying interest on. So
I know I want to buy a bicycle. I ride my bicycle in the park and it's gone. Craig, what you do? Craig got 2 children who were born in China, right? One was born in China and one was born in...
No, China don't grant citizenship to foreign people. You still got to go to your embassy within 6 months and get that.
Anyway, 2025 campaign trail. Introducing, ladies and gentlemen, introducing Leonard Craig.
Guaranteed I will be on the campaign trail.
Alphonso de ARMAS. And then...
I am excited.
I believe both of you.
I love campaigning.
I believe both of you will be candidates in the 2025 election for the PPP. Alfonso is always my co-host, Leonard Craig. Happy 2025 on behalf of all of us. See you.